Hi guys, thanks for joining us. My name is Trevor Beck. I'm your host, and today we're going to be on. Well, today we're talking about Get Help Hangouts, where basically we have information available for our Google for Education certified trainers. Consider your professional development information that we can. What we end up doing is we take a look at what's going on in the news with Google. We also bring in some guest speakers to talk about some of the cool things that Google's doing. And it's all information that you can take back to your schools and your people that you're doing your training for. As I mentioned, my name is Trevor Beck. I'm a Google for Education certified trainer and innovator. I'm from here, Edmonton, Canada, and I'm going to be going through and letting the other guys introduce themselves. We'll start off with Allison, please. You're muted. There you are.
I'm back. I'm Allison Malika. Glad to be here again. Excited about some of the new updates with Google, and really psyched that Dan's here today to share the Transformation Center with us.
Dan, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Dan Stratford. Glad to be here today. I work on the Global Adoption and Impact team, which with all the folks who work on the certified trainer program or the certifications, the training center, the PD partners, and all of that. The Transformation Center is one of the projects that I've been working on, as well as recently the Certified Innovator program. So glad to be here today.
Oh, what are you doing with the Innovator program, Dan?
You know, Becky has moved on to focus on some higher education projects, and so I'm transitioning into that role that Becky was playing.
Okay, all right, we'll chat more offline. Your turn, Nick.
Hi, Nick Cusumano, Director of Instructional Technology of a school district in the St. Louis metro area, and excited to share about all the cool things that are happening at the end of the year, and getting excited about ISTE and all the stuff that will be coming out then, because I know there will be lots of excitement and announcements that'll be coming out then too.
Do you want to tell everyone what ISTE is, in case they haven't heard of it and have time in June to go to it?
Sure thing. You have, I think, till the 28th to get the price discount. Like, I'm registering today to get that price discount before it goes up. It is the International Society for Technology and Education, about 20,000 educators and all the big companies. Tons of workshops this year. It's in Chicago at McCormick's Place, and it is where you get to meet all your edu heroes. It's actually, I want to say, where Alice and I met face-to-face maybe for the first time, I think. It's a great place. All of a sudden you're like, oh, it's that person from Twitter. Oh my God. And I've had people come up to me that recognize me from Twitter, and it's just a great place to exchange ideas, get inspired for the next school year.
So if you haven't checked it out yet, ISTE, I-S-T-E 2018, just Google that. You'll see all the different activities that are available. I mean, they've got breakout rooms, they've got hands-on stuff. There's all sorts of stuff. There's vendors there. Do yourself a favor, check it out. Like Nick said, there's still time if you want to get in when the early bird rates are still good.
Also,
all right. Oh, go ahead.
While you're on the ISTE topic, just for all the trainers interested in participating with Google, there's always a lot of question about how do I get on the Google booth schedule. That will be posted on the listserv as we get closer to the event. So just keep watching the trainer listserv, and when that form comes out, be sure to sign up straight away, because the slots get filled up fairly quickly.
And I think that just went out yesterday.
Yes.
So sign up now. I at least saw it on the innovator side. I don't know if I've seen it on my trainer listserv yet, but get on that as soon as possible.
Okay, let's take a look at what we're going to be covering today. So to start off, if you have any questions, as you're watching this video, of course, there's the chat and the side there. The archive will not be able to take any questions, so you'll have to put all your questions into the actual comments field below. But during this live time, if you have any discussion, you can use the YouTube chat. But if you have any questions, if you would please go to goo.gl/slide/8w8ych. I'll just leave that up for a second or two. And just open up a new tab, or sorry, a new window. That way you have that handy. You can put your questions in, and as people add questions, other people can vote on it. And at the end, we'll go through and answer whatever questions we can. We've got a new website, bit.ly/gethelphangouts. On there, we've got all the information that you're going to need about our Hangouts. We've got our show notes there. There's a live stream for this show on there right now, as well as the archive of all the shows we've done in the past. So bit.ly/gethelp. If this show is basically geared for Google certified trainers, but if you're not a Google certified trainer and you want to learn about how, basically there's all sorts of information available. And if you just Google the Google certified trainer, you will find out all the requirements involved with that. So our agenda, we're going to start off with what's new in Google. We're then going to do our feature presentation with Dan. And if we have time, we might have a random share out or a shout out, but we'll see how things are going because there's lots going on with new in Google. And so as I'm going along, if someone wants to just pop up and say something about whatever we're talking about, by all means, feel free to drop in. For the rest of you, we're not going to be going through and demonstrating every one of these things because we'll be here all day. There's links here in our slide deck. So the slide deck is available through the show notes, which are embedded into the description for this video, as well as on our website. So by all means, please go there. And that way you don't have to write out all those links and stuff. Proactive phishing protections and management controls, basically within our email to protect you from phishing scams. Sometimes you may have seen some warnings in your email client saying, hey, we suspect this is not a good person. They're going to be doing more proactive stuff with that. Hangout Meets. Anyone on our group using Hangout Meets? Show of hands. Dan, are you using Meets or? You're muted there, bud.
Not right now, but I am during other meetings at this time. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So Hangout Meets. I'm still a Hangout guy. There's some features that are available in Hangouts that aren't in Meet yet, but it's getting closer and closer to the time we're going to have to pull over. One of them was the ability from within a Hangout to be able to call a Canadian or US phone number. I use that function all the time. So if I'm in a meeting and I've got someone, an administrator who doesn't have a camera, doesn't have a headset, I can do a screen share through the Hangout and then just call them on their phone. The two items that they know how to do is click a link and answer the phone. Makes for troubleshooting really easy. So that's coming to Hangouts Meet. Another cool function available only for you US people is you now get a dial-in phone number. So when you are creating an event in Google Calendar, there will be a link there for people to phone a specific phone number within the United States. Google Sheets has some great functionality into it. One of them is to be able to record macros. If you're doing a bunch of long things, formatting, that kind of stuff, the macros now make it a lot easier for you to do. And they're saved with the sheet that you're working on. So if you create a macro, someone else can come in and make use of it. One of the things I really like is within Google Sheets is we now have checkboxes. So you can create a sheet, have some checkboxes in there. The nice thing about it is it actually works with a true-false statement. So if you have a formula where you say, if B5 is true, then do this action, it looks at the checkbox, and if the checkbox is checked, that's true, and if it's not checked, it's false. So you can actually make use of that in formulas, which is very cool. Google Drive Access Checker. If you are in email or calendar and you decide to share a file with someone, Google will now pop up and say, hey, I notice you're sharing this file with someone. I haven't given them access before to share it. Do you want me to do that? So make sure that when you're sending those messages out and those invites, that the person does have access to the files. Anyone got any comments on anything on the first slide? Okay. Going to move to the next slide. That's really fast. What else is new? I understand Gmail is available now. So we've all been reading about it lately with the Gmail. If you don't see it, if you go up to where the gear is in the top right-hand corner, you can click on that, and there's a link there that says, try the new Gmail. And if you try it and you decide you don't like it, you can go backwards and bring back the old Gmail. So you can switch it back and forth. So what do we have in that? Well, nudging and smart reply. So smart reply, we've seen those on our mobile devices. Someone sends us an email, and at the bottom, it's going to say, Google's going to say, hey, I noticed the question here that maybe yes, I can is a good answer, and it will provide those things for you. Nudging basically means if in the email someone says, let's meet on Thursday, and you haven't replied or anything like that, it's going to pop up a little thing and say, hey, is this what you want to do? Do you need to act on this? Bolder security alerts. By bolder, does that mean that they're brighter? And okay, Allison's going, yes.
Sorry, if they're going to be more in your face to try to keep people from ignoring them and doing silly things.
Excellent. I'm just glad to see them, because at work I have to use Outlook, and I hate it because it always disappears on me. There's a tighter integration with Calendar and Keep. In fact, on the right-hand side, you'll see a bunch of icons that you can click on, and it will pop up those items there. So you can actually have like an embedded view of those things. Task has been upgraded. So there's availability of tasks. Tasks has always been there. It's probably one of the unsung heroes. I actually have used it a lot. The one thing I've liked about tasks and Calendar that I did not like about, what do they call it, reminders in Calendar, is that you can do sub menus, or sorry, sub assignments. So they do have some of that integration in Google. I'm sure in Gmail. I'm sure it's going to get more refined as time goes on. But it's nice to be able to see that we've got tasks front and center. And if you happen, sorry, go ahead.
Can we stop and talk about this for just a moment?
Sure thing.
I would like you guys to weigh in on it, but I'd also like some other folks to think about it and maybe post to the discussion at some point. What is going on with tasks and reminders and Keep? The tasks upgraded. Well, it's prettier, but it still has the same functionality of not being able to add a time to it. We have reminders now in Calendar. So I was under the assumption for so long, just predicting that reminders would be here to stay and tasks would go away. And now tasks is getting kind of little love as getting an upgrade, when in fact, it really hasn't changed. The interface is cuter, but the product hasn't changed. And I just wish I could get into the minds of those developers and know what the deal is. Are we like, is Keep, reminders, and tasks going to all get married and live happily ever after? Like, what is going on with this? So, well, driving anyone else crazy, maybe you feel better now, because it's driving me up the wall.
Does anyone else want to answer before I say anything?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I've used tasks for years. There's elements of it that I really like. On my mobile device, there's an app that I use on my iPhone that allows me to have my different tasks and subtasks, which works out really great. The new task mobile device does not do subtasks right now, and I know that'll change. But you're right. All they've done is put lipstick on it. The functionality is still pretty much the same. But it'd be nice to see how like you said, what are we going to do? And I think the big thing with tasks that the other ones don't have is the fact that you have those subtasks. And that's really important when you've got these different activities and then there's all these sub activities. When you're doing a quick and dirty checklist and stuff like that, Keep works fine, the Calendar works fine. But I think that's, hopefully, I'm like you, I'm hoping there's going to be something more to it than just, a new paint job. Anyone else want to weigh in, say anything? Dan's not going to say anything.
I'm a task user. What I like about it is just I use the task canvas and full screen. I get lots of lists, and I use the shortcuts and move things up and down. It helps me just kind of like I can brain dump into it and then sort, which I guess is what you're getting at when you create like sub lists, right?
Yep.
I like that I don't have to like create it into a specific list.
Yeah, and I haven't tried to see if the canvas still works if you've enabled the tasks. I assume it would, but do you know if it does?
I don't know. I mostly use it in like the canvas mode.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know what canvas mode is if you go to tasks, it shows up in the bottom of your screen, this little pop-up window, and you can actually pop that into a large full screen window. And like Dan said, the beauty of it is if I want a subtask, I just hit a tab and it just indents it and puts underneath whatever the former task was. And you can use your arrow keys and stuff like that to reorganize stuff. So if you're like us, your keyboard guys, you'd love that kind of stuff. New tasks not doing that for me right now. Nick, you're unmuted. So do you had something to say?
I haven't used it as much. I probably should be more of a task person, but I try to keep track of it inside my head. So, and I'm probably on the Allison thing, and just like, I don't know which way it's going to go. And it's been on that list of make up your mind and waiting for it to decide.
Right. Well, let's see what else we've got here with our Gmail. So we have an action via hover includes open attachment. So basically, as you hover over a message, there's all sorts of different options that'll appear that you can choose from. Now, there's a piece called confidentiality. So basically what they're saying is, from what I've read, is if you have some piece of confident email, they're basically going to host your messages on a Google server somewhere. When you pass that on to somebody, they have a link to go to that file in the cloud, and based on an expiration date or a revoking of an access or limiting who has access to it, it's going to be available to the end user. I mean, pretty much basically it's high maintenance of Google sharing on a message level. Now, the confidentiality stuff, everyone's excited about it, but it hasn't rolled out yet. From what we've read, it's probably not going to be out right away being not for another month or so. So just keep watching. Someone will get excited and post again, all the stuff that's going on about Gmail. So it'll come up again. Other couple changes that are new. You can add custom links in the nav bar in Google Sites. So what that means is if you have a menu, if there's 4 items in the menu and you want the 4th one to not be part of Google Sites, but to maybe link out to the Google Apps Upkeep page, which is what I do, then you can do that now. You can basically put any link you want into that navigation. And for me, the cool thing is now you can take your Google Slides and insert it into a Google Doc. And just like having other Google Slides within Google Slides, it's a live update. So, I mean, you're just inserting, but it's referencing the original document. So if someone makes changes there, it's going to automatically change in your Google Doc. Oh, and they're adding rulers too to slides. Okay, that's pretty much the update. Did I miss anything, guys? Okay, I have one question here. The dial-in number in Google Meet is also available for educational accounts or enterprise only. Yeah, when they first came out, they were talking it was enterprise only. The last message I read said it was going to be available for everyone. Did anyone else get that impression?
My impression is it's available for education, but I was just going into the settings for the admin panel just to verify it. So if I find any conflicting information, I'll add it to the question on the slide.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. So basically we don't know yet because it's just been rolled out. So who knows? So that's what's new. So guess what? That brings us to our featured presenter, which is Dan Stratford. Now, Dan here is going to be talking to us about the Transformation Center. If you haven't looked at it, this is a chance to look at it. It's going to be very cool. The picture is not the same. Dan has undergone some.
I think when you're in the presentation, you have to refresh it because I think Allison's changed it.
Did she? Okay, I got a second to try that.
Okay, good.
Oh, yeah, she did. Okay, I was going to say, and through the wonders of modern miracles, Dan has gone through and done some plastic surgery, and now looks much better than he did before.
All right. Okay. So before Dan starts, just the Meet thing. It says in the admin panel, you can check a box to provide a phone number and a PIN for each video meeting. Is that what the question was?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, it's available for education. Excellent.
Excellent. Very exciting. Dan, thank you. Take it away.
Cool. I mean, this has been really, really great. And I knew about some of these and I'm learning about some of them here on the call with you guys, which is amazing. One of the best things about, these groups is, we get the real experts here, who know how to make, how these things are working in schools and all that. So thanks, Trevor and Allison and Nick. Fun to be here with you guys. I also think it's really interesting, going through all of these very specific features within the technology is like one level. And then we're going to zoom way out to a transformation level. I know that's a word that gets used and abused in lots of different contexts. For us, transformation is about a holistic school and school system change. And something that's really important to us is that technology is not the solution. It's part of the solution. It's one piece of it. But we really want to make sure that, the technology is a catalyst for deeper and longer, more substantial change. So I'm going to switch over and just show some really short slides about the Transformation Center, which was our first initiative really focused on this transformation level. And then I'll kind of dive straight into the site and show you some of the cool things that you can do specifically relevant to you as a certified trainer, and certainly relative to anybody who is in kind of a leadership role within schools or districts. It's specifically geared towards that audience, though there's a lot of great stuff in there for just about anybody. So switching over here. So the Transformation Center, you can, it gets, as Allison was saying before our call, it can get a little bit buried in the new Google for Education website. So better to, so you can use this short link here, g.co/transformation center to access that quickly, or you can just do a quick Google search, Google for Education Transformation Center. We'll bring it up every time. As I was saying, this is part of our effort to really say that meaningful school change takes more than technology. This is something you all know, and this is something that we believe deeply at Google, and we're always thinking about, how else can we make sure that the technology catalyzes this deeper change. We also heard a lot that school leaders really want to learn from other school leaders about what is working, what are the best practices, how are they leading change, what mistakes are they making, and so forth. And so we launched the Transformation Center as a platform for school leaders to share their best practices for leading change in schools. And when we say school leaders, we're really thinking about this broadly. It could be at the individual school level, principals, assistant principals, or it could be at the district level, superintendents, directors of curriculum, directors of technology, coaches who work kind of district-wide, and so forth. A lot of good stuff that's relevant to teachers as well. It's organized around our framework for transformation, which has 7 elements. Right here in the middle is this little compass, which is vision. As we talk with schools about their technology programs, we want to emphasize that it's that you have a compelling reason to adopt the technology, and this is your vision for the type of learning and teaching you want to see in your school. And then you have to pay attention to really all of these other elements in your rollout. Right, and so technology here is just one piece of that, but you also have to pay attention to the culture, which can really get in the way of change processes, or it can facilitate and accelerate and institutionalize those changes and mindsets. Professional development is critical. We know that one of the big stressors for teachers is new initiatives without enough training on how to actually do it. So professional development is key. Again, this should all line up with that vision for for where you want to go. Paying attention to the learning approach. This is thinking around, what kind of model of learning and teaching do you want to see in your school, whether that's project-based or your flavor of personalized learning, blended learning, things like that. What does that look like, and being intentional around that. Community engagement has several parts. This is about working with families on the one hand. How do we make sure that there are seamless learning environments between the home and the school? How do we make sure that parents are strong partners in that process, or that we're partnering with them well? But it goes beyond that to the general community. So, for example, some of the resources and stories in the Transformation Center are around working with local businesses to provide authentic learning experiences for students, or working with local coffee shops and places that have Wi-Fi to provide that Wi-Fi for free to students who may not have access at home. And so these community engagement, community partnerships are a critical part of the transformation. And then lastly, this funding and sustainability piece, which is thinking about, how do you make sure that the technology isn't just an add-on on top of everything else that a school does and needs to fund, but that it's really kind of an integrated part, that you're thinking around, not just purchasing devices, but maintaining them, providing the professional development for them, refreshing them when the time comes, and so forth. So these are the elements of transformation, and the Transformation Center collects these great resources and stories and best practices from school leaders in each of these 7 elements. So, for example, within culture, we take this framework and we break it down a little bit further. When we've been talking with school leaders within culture, some of the common challenges that we run across are, sometimes there's this kind of low trust environment, or teachers feel like they have a lack of agency around, making changes beyond their own classroom or even within their own classroom. And sometimes there's a fear of failure, learning to do something new with technology, changing a way that you've been teaching for a long time. Like, that can be scary. It can be hard to do. And sometimes that really gets into the culture, and that can make it hard for a school or a district or a classroom to really transform. In some cases, there are administrative silos. We see examples of, change management processes where it's really just the technology department kind of going full steam ahead. And that is not the ideal situation. Sometimes it's what you have to do, but ideally, it's working very closely with the curriculum side of the house, with all sorts of people across the district, so that change really is a transformation and not just a single initiative. And then again, this kind of fear of change or entrenched habits, the way we've always done things. So we took a look at this, and so within culture, our strategies for success here, and you can see these in the site, are, we want to foster teacher and student agency. We want to encourage a culture of risk-taking. We want to foster deeper, richer collaboration across silos, and we want to make sure that curiosity is embedded within the culture. And so then further, lots of the best practices that we've been collecting from school leaders are tied to each of these strategies for success. So I'll just, from there, I'll just go ahead and I'll pop into the site itself, give you a little tour, show you some of the cool things that are there, hopefully some things that I think will be really useful in your work as a trainer. And then, yeah, we'll go from here. So here's the Transformation Center. The great thing is, it's all very searchable. So you get these cool little tiles you can click in and see, learn about, whatever story or idea that has been implemented here. I'm going to go ahead and search for coaching, because we're all coaches here, and see the type of resources that come up here. So you see you've got a number of great things. This one's from Ridgewood Public Schools around setting up a teacher-to-teacher coaching program. And so you could click into that and see what they do. You can see this one here. This is a school district in Texas that they actually got 100% of their teachers and staff to be level 1 certified. And so you can see in their little picture here, some of them are level 1, which I believe is the yellow here, and some are level 2, which is the green. And we have some trainers here in blue, and we've got a little innovator over here in red. And so this really breaks down from the administrator perspective, what did they do? How did they do it? What was the impact they saw? And how could someone else replicate it? And we've tried to make all of these stories really actionable. So you can see it gives a kind of an overview of the idea here. Lots of links out to different things that they referenced that they thought were useful. The idea, and then talk about the purpose and impact, why they did it. And then here in the how it works, we want this to be very actionable, not super high level, but even at the level that they'll share in many cases, like this is the actual slide deck that we use to present this initiative to our board, right? Or this is the actual tracker in Google Sheets, or a copy of it that we use to arrange these choose your own professional development activities, things like that. So try to make it very, very actionable, very tactical, so that this is as if one school leader telling the other school leader, hey, we did this cool thing, here's how you could do it too. And then at the bottom here, some of the kind of lessons learned, maybe mistakes. I wish we had done this. This is the kind of advice part there. So hopefully that gives you an idea of the type of things that resources that you can find there. Actually, I'm going to show you a different one over here. So a very different type of resource. So we have some docs in here. This one is actually change management resources that we've collected from our reference districts. And these are very, very tactical sorts of things. So you can see, this might be examples of like parent and community communications, or your Chromebook handbooks, or your acceptable use policies, or district professional development programs. It could be, it has lots of examples linking out to, this is the website that we use to kind of tie everything together for our transformation initiative. So to give you another example of something that's there in the Transformation Center. So I'm going to switch over here from the Resource Center, which is the main idea. Oh, one thing I didn't tell you is, so you get these little bookmarks here. So you can actually go through, and once you're signed in, it'll prompt me to sign in if I click this. But once you're signed in, you can actually like save your favorite resources. And then when you come over here into My Resources, you'll see all of your saved resources.
Dan, before you head off, I just wanted to share the screen again. So if you guys have questions out there, goo.gl/slides/8W8YCH. There's also a link in the YouTube chat. So if you have any questions, please, by all means, go ahead and enter them there. Thanks, Dan.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and anyone on the call, definitely feel free to like pop in at any moment, so that I don't monologue too much. I don't want to bore anybody, but I'm excited about this. I think there's a lot of cool things.
I just bookmarked like 3 things while you were showing.
Oh, awesome!
I love that feature.
And as a school district who's in the middle of change, we'll be borrowing heavily from the Transformation Center. Especially those areas to make sure that we haven't missed something. Some of that stuff we already had on there, and like, maybe we missed something. I'm going to go to the Transformation Center and make sure I don't miss anything.
You think that's one of the cool things here? Like, it can be like a good kind of checkpoint, right? To say like, hey, we're doing a lot. Let's make sure we're being comprehensive here, and that's what it's all about: holistic change.
And I think also just on change management, because I think that is a challenge. I mean, I'm not afraid of the technology. I know how to do that. I know that pathway. I'm not afraid. I don't think the kids are afraid. It's the teachers that are afraid. I've been going around meeting with teachers, and I've had 2 teachers who are my age that have been shaking with what's coming, and they even have a whole nother year, because we're not going one-to-one in our high schools for a whole nother year, and they were just shaking because they were so terrified of change. And I'm like, it will be fine. But they were just like, oh my God, it's
and it can be scary. There's actually a couple of Transformation Center resources or practices that are directly related to that, right? Like how like one called dealing with resistors, right, which is all about like building empathy with these people and turning them into allies, and addressing that fear. So some good stuff there, and from people who are actually like in the trenches, like making this happen. Cool. So are you guys seeing my screen still? Okay. So I was going to show you, you can take kind of a deeper dive into any of these framework elements. Since we're all trainers here, I'm going to go into the professional development section. professional development page. You can also access this from the framework drop down here and go over to professional development. Kind of a high level overview of these principles around effective professional development. There's some reflection questions for each of these that are really good to kind of reflect on, what kind of plan do we have? How are we differentiating? How are we providing ongoing support? And so forth. Again, this is kind of another view of the resources. We have a case study, and then it recommends, again, these are all resources you can find in the resource directory. But one thing that's really cool, and it's kind of hidden here in the sub-nav, is this planning section, which shows these planning steps for, you're about to go through your transformation. How should you think about professional development? So you want to put together a team, and here are some tools for, you can put together stakeholder analysis, who needs to be involved. Some resources from Google around effective teams. If you're thinking about, your whatever team it is, if it's your team of coaches or your department level team, investigate and understand, setting goals, tools for all of these different steps in the process, making a plan and so forth. And then one of my favorite things here is under each of these framework elements, learning, culture, any of these, there's this overview page, which has these reflection questions aligned with this framework. So this could be a really good kind of discussion point to bring to a meeting and say like, hey, let's just like have a think about our professional development around our transformation here and make sure, are we paying attention to like this hands-on learning opportunities for our teachers? Do we have a plan that connects to a larger mission and so forth? So this can be a really good tool to kind of facilitate those conversations. I'm going to go back here, jump into culture. This is something that we've been paying a little bit more attention to recently. One of the cool things we have here is we actually have a culture guide from Google for creating a culture of innovation within schools. And so this showcases what this basically talks about, like, here are the important things that we believe are critical to create a culture of innovation. And then here's a bunch of tools that help. So there's a culture survey, there's some starting points, and then there's a whole bunch of, these are all like quick start little things you could do to work on any of these pieces. And then down here are, Google's culture practices, and we've worked with some schools and some Googlers around like, different practices that Google has to encourage and sustain innovation, and how could these be applied to schools? And so you can click into each of these and learn more about this Google culture practice and its implications for schools and school districts. So another kind of cool example of what you can see there. I'm going to zip over here. So that was the framework section. So we also have this growing section of the Transformation Center, which is the hub of projects, published projects by our Google certified innovators who are doing all sorts of amazing things to infuse innovation into some of the big challenges that they've faced and they've seen in education. And so this is a really cool place to kind of go and get some inspiration and learn about, what are some of the things that our certified innovators have worked on. The last thing that I guess I would say is, don't just be a consumer, but be a creator. You guys are out there with all sorts of great ideas and seeing some really good things in practice around changing schools and transforming them. So you can just click right here and share your idea, and we review these on an ongoing basis, and then can work with you to get that idea published to the Transformation Center so that you can kind of reach a global scale with your great ideas and best practices. I guess I'll pause there and see if there's any questions or comments from others on the call.
No questions or anything at the moment. How about from you guys?
I think if any, I know that a lot of people watch this at a later date. And rather, I encourage anyone who's watching this, any education professional, trainer, go into the Transformation Center on a secondary computer while you're listening and watching Dan walk you through it. And go deep and look deeply at the resources. You literally, this is a treasure trove of ideas, of organized tools, inspiration for working with teams. You'll get ideas from here. So if you're feeling stymied and you're thinking, what do we need to do? Just go here and have a look around, and you'll get something. There's so much here, you'll never be able to take advantage of it all. And it's an invaluable resource. So take time to look at it and dig deep with it. I encourage you to look at it with your teams. If you're in a school working with it, which a lot of Google trainers are, I encourage you to draw this to your admin. Bring it up at a district technology committee meeting. I know a lot of you have these monthly meetings. A lot of time is wasted. This would be a great use of your time to say, hey, let's take a look at this and pull something out of it that we can start using, and use a little bit of it at a time. There's a lot. There's coding things in here that you can implement as a librarian. So there's really something for all the stakeholders. It's a great resource. Thank you, Dan.
And one thing too for everyone is that the nice thing about it is you don't have to create the resources. A lot of those resources are there for you to just grab and just run with. So I know for a lot of people, it's like, oh, I don't have the time or the energy to do this, that, and the other thing, but Google's already done a lot of that work for you.
And the innovator projects in there as well. Like, for example, one of them is like 1 minute tech tips or 1 minute tech training. That doesn't take a lot of time to even understand what that is or implement. So it might be just as simple as that, as, oh my gosh, this would work great for my, highly distracted teachers and busy teachers, the 1 minute tech tips. So you might find something on creating breakouts or escape rooms with Google Forms. And you're like, oh, I was looking for another resource on that. So you never know what you're going to find. It doesn't have to be as deep or as rich as one area. It could be something that's quickly implemented or just gives you that spark or that energy that you need.
I think that's a great point. I mean, it's about starting wherever you're at, right? And there's some things that are quick wins and some other things that are more deep dives. And yeah, I definitely echo what Trevor was saying around try to make this really like actionable so that you can really borrow the nuts and bolts of what someone else has done.
And I like that you guys took time to add the culture in there, because I think people are always intrigued by Google and its culture, and giving tips and tricks on how to bring that into your educational world and how to help bring that to students is always a great thing. I went to one of our buildings today, and they have a whole STEAM room where where kids can be innovative, and that's something that we want to take to other parts of our district, and that's something I think that Google kind of pushes, and so thank you for sharing that out and helping others bring that to their schools.
I'm hoping there's an article in there on how to find sponsorships for slides, because we all know that's what Google's known for, is their slides in their buildings, right? So Dan, we have about 10 minutes left and some more stuff to cover, but is there anything else you want to add in for the next 2 minutes, or?
Nope, that was good.
Excellent. And it was good. That was great. Thank you very much. That was awesome. And sorry, go ahead, Allison.
I always have one more thing. If a lot of you guys are looking, you're doing sessions for teachers on collaborative slides, in different Google tools, you could use this as your subject matter. So if you're going to like team up teachers to teach them how to construct knowledge and collaborate and then present something they've learned, you could use this as your baseline and have them find something on here, work as a team, put together a slide, and then each of them share. So you're teaching slides, but you're actually drawing them to this resource. So with subliminally. So if you're thinking, well, how can I train on this? You can always kind of weave it into some things you already trained.
Excellent. Great. Thank you, Allison. Okay, let's move on then, so we can get finished on time. So that's our feature presentation. Thank you again, Dan. A reminder to everyone, if you've got questions after this presentation, once you're looking at the archive, put them in the comments field down below the video. I will try and make sure to pass those comments on to Dan, and he can, or someone else can reply to that. So what's next we have? It should be our random share. So the random share, and Dan, if you've got something, by all means. Random share is just something quick that we do, just something that's of interest. I'm going to go first just because my name's up there. I just want to point out that goo.gl shortener is being sunsetted. So I believe it's in the next month or so. You will not be able to generate any more goo.gl shortcuts. They will run for another year or so, I think I read. But instead of using those, you can go to some other shortcut shortener. I use Bitly, and one of the reasons I like about Bitly is after I've created a shortcut, I can go in and customize it. So for example, for this show, bit.ly/gethelphangouts, if no one else has that shortcut, you can create your own customized shortcut. So that's my quick random share and tip there. Allison, what do you got? Allison's muted.
Sorry. Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can you go to can you open my resource and go to slide, because I'm toggling between machines. Go to slide 12. I just want to highlight one thing.
Okay, give me a second here.
Okay, and while you're calling that up, it's slide 12. It's Google CS first. I think it might undergo some changes, probably for the better, but you know, like with Google, everything changes.
Is this the one?
Yeah, if you could go to slide 12, that would be great, because I have too much to share. So I just wanted to share one thing. I was at the Cambridge office this past week with wait, that's not it.
That's slide 12 on ours or on
on mine. Yeah, on that slide deck.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was a slide deck. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. So I went with a group of like 20 students from my school in Winnisquam, New Hampshire. I met them down at Google in Cambridge, and we did a tour, and they had some time to talk with the folks that work at Google. And the number one question, really, these boys and girls were really interested in what they needed to do to prepare to work at Google. And a couple of takeaways they got, it was really like majoring in computer science is important. But one of the things that they were advising them is, you know, can you solve problems, design thinking, but can you work collaboratively? And how have you done this? And what are some of the examples that you've done? The CS First Club is a plug and play program. If you just click one more time, Trevor, you can go to the cs/first.com website. And some of the trainers have already implemented this program. It doesn't have to just be in the hands of an adult. So what I would encourage you to do if you're in that position is maybe get those students who are interested in computer programming and coding and STEM to work with a mentor like a librarian or a tech coach at the middle school and mentor a program like this. It would be great for their resume. It would enhance their coding skills and their problem solving skills. It would build leadership. So we often present CS First to schools for teachers or adults to implement, but maybe there's a market of individual high school students out there that you could get involved to run these programs in the schools. So that was my share today.
Thank you. Nick, you ready? You're muted if you are ready.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we're good now.
Okay. So I was at Micro Center yesterday and looked in there, and of course I saw the Google G, and so I had to investigate, and I didn't even know about this. So there's this artificial intelligence AIY projects, and so I'm like, oh, it's got Google, and I should go buy it. Well, so I bought the voice kit, which lets you build a voice-controlled speaker. And all you need in addition to the kit is a Raspberry Pi and a micro SD card. And at least right now, if you have Micro Center close to you, it is $4.99. And so you can do some voice recognition with that and set up some fun stuff with that. and something to explore. And so that's my little random share, because you never know what you can find while you're out there and just see something kind of randomly and have some fun with it.
Excellent. Thanks. Dan, sorry I put you on the spot. Did you have anything you wanted to randomly share?
I didn't. I figured I spoke too much and shared too many random things.
Okay. All right. Go to Google. That's his share. All right. One last piece of.
I'll jump in. I'll jump in real quick though.
Okay, sure.
For me, to the question of how do you become a Googler or something? And for me, I took a very random route. So I'll just be personal real quickly. So I studied music in college, and then I went and became a teacher, and then I went to a bank in Hong Kong, and then I went to grad school for business and education. Then I ended up at Google. And so actually at Google, you see a lot of people who took very kind of circuitous routes in their career and had to either were or had to learn to be comfortable with ambiguity. And I think that's something that our students, as our world, the pace of change in our world accelerates, something that's really important is that they learn to be really comfortable with ambiguity. It's not always easy, but I found it to be rewarding and pay off. And you never know where it will take you.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing, Dan.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to pass that along to the kids.
Okay, last slide here is our shout out. So what we try and do is we try and focus on a Google Trainer resource. As a Google Trainers, everyone has to submit how many resources is it? 2 resources a year, I think it is. And in order to keep your standing as a Google Trainer. And this time we are going to highlight, and I apologize in advance if I slam this wrong, Abida Sultana. So basically, it's around April at the university level here. A lot of our students have already left or in the process of leaving. You guys are going to be looking into that with your secondary school soon enough. But how to get your data outside of the university or the school. So Google has this tool called Google Takeout. And what that does is allow you to download all your files, all your emails, all your stuff in a generic format that you can use and upload somewhere else. So all your Google documents will be downloaded as Microsoft Office documents. Your email is compiled into some kind of archive, as well as all your other data. There's also another tool that a lot of people don't know about. It's called Google Takeout Transfer. And what that does is it says, okay, I know you're going to university here at MacEwan, which is the university I go to. When you leave, you can take all your stuff with you. You don't have to download it. You can just transfer it to a personal Gmail account. So all you have to do is create a Gmail account, punch in your authentication, and Google will actually transfer all the files straight over, and you don't have to do anything. It's all done in the back. Might take a couple of days depending on how much details you have, but you don't have to download and upload anything. Everything gets transferred over. So thank you very much for Abida for putting that into her student resource. And by all means, make sure you guys take a look at the resources that are available to you. A lot of times we all are trying to figure out how do I do X, Y, and Z. And there are resources out there that the trainers have already created. Put in that student resource that's available for you to help you save. It's almost like our own little transformation center, but just very unofficial. Last comments, statement, or questions from anyone? No, looks like we're good. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next month then. Say goodbye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.